All right, so this is a pretty free flowing. So, cool. I'm gonna do the intro and then we'll get everybody ready.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Nerdgasm Noir's Smut Book Club. You have to say the whole title, like a pit name slip back.
Is that the new rule now?
It is.
Okay.
You have to say all of the words, otherwise it doesn't count. I am joined today by D. And I just realized I should ask you this because we have an esteemed guest this evening.
No.
What name would you like to go by?
So we can just do Trace Tiffany or Tiffany for short. So my social media names.
I like Trace Tiffany, so I'm gonna say Trace Tiffany. So this is also Trace Tiffany is joining us this evening as well. Say hi to the people.
Hi. This is my first podcast, so I'm a little nervous.
I feel like we're the best podcast to be on if it's your first podcast.
Okay. That helps a lot.
And honestly, it's hilarious the topic that you're on for your first podcast because it's a little your fault.
You did this to yourself.
She really did.
I did.
It was retribution, though. Anyway, so we are going to cover for you all today a topic that we have sort of touched on in previous episodes, but we haven't really gone into it. And so now we're going into it. It will be, I call them the Swirl Girls because they're these authors, and there's a lot of them who mainly focus on black, white. There's all types of swirls. So these are the girls that just really focus on the black and white swirls. Black woman, white male. But there will be a question at the end of the show where we talk because I want to get you all's like opinion on the verse of that. So let's kick it off. I think that we should start with, I'm gonna call her the GOAT of the swirlies. And I think this is the first time we've mentioned her name.
We had a strict embargo on her name, but it's kind of important that we do say it for this episode. So
you want to say it?
No.
Okay, that's fine. That's fair. We're gonna talk about Theodora Taylor to begin. It's not about her in particular. I would like to also do a disclaimer. This is no beef. I don't know if that helps. So my journey with her, and honestly, I feel like I would say she is the first or the second KU author that I really started like, she's definitely the first that I started where I was like, I don't want to tell people I'm reading this.
Your first dirty little secret.
My first dirty little secret was Theodora Taylor. So she writes these books. Again, they are usually, sometimes she does mix it up. Okay. But she's not always white and black. Sometimes she's Latino and black. Sometimes she's Japanese and black. But mostly it's white and black. And she creates these outrageous storylines. And it's very intricate world building. And she's written, it has to be over 20 books at this point. It has to be.
I mean, I think so.
Yeah, because she has a few different series. So she has the Alien series that we did briefly talk about a while ago that she did with Eve Vaughn. So they're known as, I want to say they're known as Taylor Vaughn. She has that series. She has the she has a wolf series She has a motorbike gang series. She has a second motorcycle gang series. Am I saying what are they called?
Biker gangs?
Biker gang. So she has like I think two different biker gang series and a Scottish wolf series and a couple of standalones. There was one series about twins. I feel like the series is about twins who go on to marry brothers.
I
And it's
don't, maybe
mhm.
I didn't get as deep into it as you did, but I don't remember that one.
Listen, I do because it was, and let me start that. And so honestly, all of her books could be wrapped up in it was weird.
Yes.
So that one starts with one woman who's like has amnesia and she doesn't, I don't know what she forgot or whatever, but she ends up with the guy that she was sort of with before, but not really. But she was sort of dating the brother, but she was literally in love with the other guy. It was weird. I forget how it ends. They get together. But then the sequel is where the brother thinks that she ran away to be with him because his brother was on some cold shit. But it's not her. She had a secret twin sister who's on the run for her life.
Uh,
Sitting here like, how did I miss this one? And do I need to go back and read it? It's so embarrassing.
You may need to. Oh, it's gonna make you feel weird though. So,
it's so embarrassing is like the right description. Like, yeah, that's how I would say it.
so what is okay? We'll start with Trace Tiffany. What is your favorite? Because you just started your journey with her, correct?
Yes, I think I started reading her maybe last year, and like that's all I read for like a month or two.
Yeah.
Um, so it's the one where, and again, it's all very embarrassing, but it's the one where he like does this revenge plot where he keeps her in a house.
Oh my god.
Um,
His revenge, baby.
is it revenge? Because it's like three books, and one of them where she's just in this house and she can't leave, and like she had started going to school, and he took the credit cards away so she couldn't go to school. Like it's just real dark. I read dark romance, so this one just kind of hit all of my buttons. Like I'm not gonna lie, it did. Um, but I think I'm scrolling through now. I want to say it was one of the ones where he was like Japanese or
Oh, the
I
Nakamura brothers.
yes.
Oh, yeah, those were, was that, which one was that one?
I feel like this is the revenge, baby. No, not
It
the revenge, baby. Oh, I know which one you're talking
was
about
that the
though.
one where she worked at a strip club?
No, that I'm gonna be the most
Start
embarrassed.
so it starts in I think Japan, and then something happens, someone dies, and he finds her a few years ago. Oh my
I
gosh.
feel like it's I feel like it's the one where and now I don't remember the name of it, but it's fucked up. Um,
Well, they're all fucked
they're
up.
all fucked up. So
That's what makes it so hard to narrow it down.
he doesn't have like half of his tongue or over half of his tongue is missing, right?
Oh, I don't remember that.
What?
So there's this one where she starts off as his tutor. Um,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
one. So like half his tongue is missing. She starts off as his tutor. I don't remember if he starts off with the tongue or if it gets cut somewhere in the book when he's young. But her father betrays him and their
Yes.
gang or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's
Okay.
exactly it. Because wasn't
Well,
she, I think she was mixed.
I think so too. So I think that one is that was definitely a darker one.
Was it the last one? Because I think that might have been the one that I couldn't finish.
I, I could see you not finishing. I read the whole thing. Oh, because the weird part of it is that's a dark series, but there is a cute one in that series.
Which one is the cute one?
So there's one in that same series. It's his cousin. He falls for a doctor,
Yes.
and it's less weird than her
Was it
pre.
the one where their children were trying to hook them up?
No, so you're going back to that's the
That might have been the first one.
that was the first one. So she has, and this is the thing about Theodora and her series, honestly, she sort of combines them at times. They'll cross timelines, and so they operate all in the same universe for real. Um, that one you're thinking about his perfect present, like his nickname was No. And
Oh yeah. Oh God, oh yeah, I know which one
yeah,
that is. Never
yeah,
mind.
yeah. For those that have read this book, you understand why we're saying this now. Um, oh my God, I never thought I'd see the day that I'd be on a podcast admitting that I read these books. And so I want to let you guys know I appreciate this.
It's like confession.
It is. And so,
It is like confession, actually. I
well,
feel relieved of my sins of reading these damn books.
and it's funny because one thing that Twitter taught me was that there were other people who have read her books that will not say it out loud. Like,
I don't
Well,
think anyone will. Like she probably be really more popular if people actually admitted to reading her.
yeah, I think what it is she's like most of the romance girlies, she's like their dirty little secret, you know?
Yes.
But we all read her, so we might as well be honest about
this. Like, here's the thing. She has her problems. And so that's kind of okay. Okay. Here are the problems that she has at times. One, I feel like it got better as it went on. As she went on, she sort of fixed some things. But a lot of her earlier books start out with a Black woman who is destitute and in need of a white man savior. And usually, this white man has been, not usually, there were times where the white men have been cruel to that Black woman, but it's because, they just could not handle the veracity of their emotions. It was new to them.
and she also allowed that shit because she never has any friends,
Never,
especially not black friends.
ever. Sometimes they like know each other, but no. And she'll have these wild storylines. So there's one, and it's in the Fairgood Brothers series, which if you're never going to admit to reading that, that's fine. I feel weird about what I'm about to say. Um, there's one where it's the biker gang, but he gets amnesia and he's treated by this beautiful Black doctor, and they fall in love. And then he remembers that he's in the Klan.
I read both of these. They're coming in book two.
So you read his Forbidden Bride. You had an interesting month.
Yeah.
Um,
If you wouldn't have brought it up, I wouldn't have brought it up. But since you brought it up,
so here's what happened to me in that book though, because I felt like she tricked me. I
Was
had
that the one with Mason or Dixon?
ooh, which one? Oh wait, wait. Mason was his to own. Oh wow.
Yeah, it sounds gross when you see now that we're actually see this is why I didn't want to talk about it before because now that we're actually saying it out loud on the podcast, you feel dirty, don't you?
I felt very dirty.
Mm-hmm.
I felt, oh my God, how did they do this? So, so one, I think that first of all, Colin was the weirdest one of them to read. I do not suggest that one. Like if you see something with Colin Fairgood, just go on ahead, skip. Um, because she didn't understand. I don't think that when she was writing that time, she doesn't understand BDSM for real. And so
Oh.
then we run into some consent issues. Um, but this one was called His Forbidden Bride, but it's not the only time racism has come into play because Mason's not a fair good, I don't think, but he was definitely in the biker gang. Maybe he was though. And so the girl's boyfriend sells her to him. I was trying to find a gentler way of saying that, and I could not.
Oh,
It starts out with a
this is the same plot as His to Own.
yeah. So
Yep.
that's when I was talking about His to Own. So and that one gets fucking ridiculous. Like it is gratuitous trauma, but I think that she adds more and more to it because it's like it builds up and builds up, and it's just wild. It's just wild.
So I read His to Own. I actually, because I guess after the first one, I was prepared
Mm-hmm.
to go into the second one, so I knew it was going to be like surprise, it's the Klan. Like I made I made an informed decision to keep reading. Those were the only two I read. But what I found interesting about that one, and to give her she's a good writer. Like she started off writing category romances. I think she was doing Kamani um with Harlequin. So she started off in trad publishing and ended up here. But
Really?
Yeah.
yeah.
I did not know that. Okay,
Yeah.
so sorry to interrupt you, but that explains why. Like, one of the things that we always say about her books is that, like, they're wild and crazy, but, like, they have very good sex scenes.
That's like scene structured plot. I mean, they combine all elements combined together. They're easily readable. Um, but with that one, I feel like she used their trauma to justify them being together. So yes, he was in the Klan, and yes, she came from this very bad situation, but he was brought up that way and abused, and she was brought up that way and abused, and we're going to put the two of them together in this house, and they're just going to have to work all of these things out because there's really not a whole lot of extra characters in her books. It's usually just the two main people trying to work through all of the trauma and difficulties Theodora has kind of heaped on them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was why that book, I would never in a million years think that this book would kind of work for me, but it did. Like by the end of the book, I can say, oh, okay, I see how these two could end up together in this specific circumstance.
I mean, yeah. It and you're right, and I think that also the fact that she doesn't have extra characters for real, because the characters fall in like the main character, the guy will have friends, the guy will have a family,
Yeah.
the guy always has people to talk to. Those people are usually, man, you're tripping, you're different now. Ooh, they don't really add much because they're gonna have their own spinoff later anyway. The women know no one. And their families have all abandoned them or have been just fucking rude. Um, they're all in social work, which is rude. Uh, because it's just there's a formula that she has that works for her. And she's one of those that started out heavy, like she was KU solely for a while. I think it's
Ooh.
only been in like the last maybe 3 years that she's gotten off of KU, but you can find a lot of her stuff on Everand, which used to be Script, or
Mm-hmm.
probably your local library app. Where did you find her stuff, Tress?
So I found it on KU is where I started reading it. I think that would have been the only way I would have started reading her. But sometimes those like 99-cent pay you unlimited books, especially when you're in a reading slump,
Hmm.
like they just get the job done. So I'm pretty sure that was how. And I remember you would never refer to her at by her name. You would just say your problematic fave. And
Yep.
somehow,
She
and
says she says to me, "Your girl," as if that's my girl. I don't.
right. So somehow I kind of pieced it together and I was like, fine. This was in the ending days of the pandemic. So it's like anything goes. There were really no rules. And she fit into like that Wild West, the world is ending kind of vibe that I was on.
And I feel like I carried on a tradition with you, like we black girls tell each other in secret about Theodora Taylor because I DM'd you. Like I was not going to I was not going to put that name on my timeline.
We absolutely did not talk about her. I think we still don't talk about her on the timeline. Like,
You're not even the only person I have DM'd about her. Like that's how bad it is. I feel like somebody came in my DMs like you talking about Theodora. I'm like, oh my god, you found me out because the books be too wild not to share, and that's what I really used to love about Twitter because that's how I met you. Like you find your people on Twitter.
you gravitate to what fits
Yeah.
your vibe. Yeah, absolutely.
So, oh wait, did you tell me your favorite Theodora Trace, Tiffany?
Yeah, I did. I don't think Deanna.
Okay, so it's your turn to say your favorite.
My favorite Theodora Taylor book?
Yes.
That's hard because I hate read all of them.
Mm-hmm.
What's no, that one's kind of this oh God, I'm going to admit this.
You don't have to say
Like
your secret favorite. You could do your one you feel
no,
like.
I'll say what was the one where the three guys, the three bikers?
That's the one you just read. Not the last one you read was your favorite.
It's whatever one I'm reading at the time because literally it becomes my favorite because I do the thing with Theodora Taylor's books, and that's what's different from the other person who we're going to talk about,
Mm-hmm.
is like reading her books. I'm like, this is terrible, but it's like watching a train wreck. Like I have to keep going. I need to know what the heck is going to happen next.
Well, you know how I keep joking about how dragons have two dicks?
Yes.
She's why. She is the first, and I think that was one of the first times I got on Twitter and just referenced her ass because I'm like, I have never read in my life a two dick dragon story.
Oh, I thought you would stop there. I was like, Melissa, you have.
No, I have, and I have read two dick dragon stories since, but she was the first, and it was a part of because what she get, and I like what you said about her in the reading slump because what she does is give you this ridiculous premise and creates a whole ass world around it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when she's in her fantasy bag is honestly when she is at her best and worst.
I haven't read any of her fantasy stuff.
I haven't either. I can't. I tried to do the Christmas elves and I couldn't get into
Yeah, no,
that
fuck that.
one.
Don't do that one. So I can't remember the title of your favorite. I know which one you're talking about though. It is one of her newer ones.
Let me get. I'm
I
gonna get
can't
on
remember
Kindle
every
and
book in that
find
series.
it.
Okay, because there's one book in that series where the guy like tattoos her
I
against her.
believe I remember you telling me
Extra
about
dick
that.
or
You said which one?
I said, does he tattoo her with the extra dick or is that a
Oh,
separate book?
this is separate, but no, he like literally tattooed. I read that he did this in the synopsis or in one of the reviews, and so I said I'm not gonna do this. Sometimes she goes too far, and I won't follow her there anymore. I used to. But this one, like he's holding her captive. Fine. But then he tattoos his name, I think, on her against her will. And once I read that part, once I read that was going to happen, I said, "You almost got me, but not today." Because she also likes for her guys to be a bit creepy, like the trace your phone type of shit. Because I got to know where you are, so I know that you're safe. Because I'm a don of sorts. And she
No.
also adds every now and again. She doesn't do it as much as she used to. There will be disability rep in her books. That
I mean, they're diverse books.
hmm,
They're diverse books.
yeah.
Uh, she did the autism
Mhm.
series, so yeah. But I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. So she's covered autism. She's covered blind. She's had a couple of characters who were blind. Um, a couple of ones that were physically disabled, and these were things that when I had started reading her, I wasn't used to seeing in romance. Like romance always was just two able-bodied people living their lives, and I don't remember enough about the earlier ones for her to say how great that rep was. So don't hold me on that. Like, don't start reading her because I'm saying that she does great rep. Don't do that.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
not an endorsement. It's just a thing that she does. I found the one that I found my book. It's Vengeance is the one.
it's just
And it's gonna change the next time I read one of her books because that one's gonna be the one that I'm like, you know what, this is wild, but I'm gonna finish it.
so I will say mine, and it's one that I go back to from time to time. It's a part of her Wolf Changing series. Again, I do suggest you guys do the fantasy. Um, it's Pride and Prejudice. I think that's I gotta look at, but it's like it's the second in the series, and she does this fated wolf mating series. And so it starts out with her Viking wolf, where this woman who's a pioneer woman and an orphan, and that was adopted by the wolf clan, um, is set to marry the golden boy of the highest, of the alphas or whatever. Like he's going to be alpha next because his dad is the alpha. She's set to marry him, but she falls in love with the time traveling werewolf from the Viking age because
Hold on, time out. I need you to say that sentence again. Because it's a lot of words that I understand individually, but put together in a sentence, my brain said no.
so there's this spell that you can chant that takes you to your fated mate across time. Okay. So your fated mate may not be in your current timeline. You may never meet that person because nobody did the spell.
Oh, well, that's nice, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So and so there's this fated mate thing, and he does the spell, but he does it to like escape. I guess he was getting hunted for something or some shit. So they fall in love. It's like instant. They fall in love instantly. They start fucking immediately. And this puts her in a bad spot with the clan because, she's technically engaged. Um, and they run off together. It's a whole thing. And in the end, spoiler alert, they end up together, but they go back to the Viking time. So then the second book, which is the book that I like, is the story of the rejected mate. So the rejected mate was actually in love with her best friend, who was also really feeling him. And so he's like, well, she's gone. Now I don't have to stop acting like I wasn't looking at her thick ass friend. And so they get together for a minute. Like he sets up the scenario so that she goes in heat so that he can be the one. And then she finds out that it was all set. She finds out after she's gone into heat and they fucked a bunch that he set her up. Because she wasn't going to go into heat. She was gonna just like be a career woman, do a historian shit, find out more about her best friend who was in the first book. Mind you, they didn't get to talk a lot because it was all this time traveling. So she had a friend, they just didn't get to talk. So what she does is when she finds out about it, she does the spell, not the fated mate spell, but she finds the words that'll allow her to travel back in time. So she travels back into the Viking age. Her plan is to stay there for 5 years, and so that his scent will wear off, and she can come back, and they can move on with their lives. Now she's also pregnant
There's
because,
so much happening.
and so that is literally
So much.
an honest review of her shit. And so then finds her or whatever, and then they have to work their way back together with their trust. The wolf, and I'm telling you guys, I really, especially if you have not given up on Theodora, go to her wolf series. I don't know that I would recommend the one where there are a couple of them that I would not recommend because I haven't read them and I'm not going to. She does when she does a multiple men romance, swords aren't allowed to touch. I don't know what her deal is with that. I've
Yeah.
never I've never read them where everybody plays together.
No, they don't.
And so she has one where it's like two twin brothers and the same woman.
Well, that one they definitely shouldn't.
They definitely should not, but I find that weird. And that's me. It's not a judgment if you want to start that, Tiffany.
No, I think because she writes these, she's very, I guess, like she writes diverse books, I feel like, and she does. So, like with the Japanese series, it seemed like the Nakamura brothers, it seemed like she did a lot of research into their culture and their background and tried to be as descriptive as possible. But she also writes these very traditional, straight, alpha male, dominant type male main character. So I could see where she doesn't cross that line at all. I don't know if to her way of thinking, um, and I don't know if I would trust her with it either.
So okay. Okay. I think I know her. I think that Theodora Taylor is a pseudonym, and I think I know her real name.
Don't do it.
I'm not gonna say it on here, but I'll let
Okay.
you because
One thing that we like to try and do is respect people's pen names.
and that's why I'm not gonna say it. I will say that I went down a rabbit hole, because I was like, because in that series she has a lot of ESL, like she's teaching English. And so I'm just wondering about her, but I'm just like, what's happening here? So are you a social worker? Are you an English as second language teacher? She knows just enough about those fields. So I'm like, okay. But one of the things that she does that takes me out of enjoying the juiciness is she writes herself in. Have you guys read any of the books where she's written herself in at the last minute?
The one that I talked about with the to his to own and the epilogue, they're living next door to her.
That was the one I was gonna say. I was like, so.
She wrote herself in that one. She wrote herself in the wolf one. Like they come to her to tell her their stories.
Oh, why?
Because she wanted to be involved.
Okay.
Writing the book is a lot of involvement, but I don't know. I hate it though. I hate that when she does that. I like that. I liked the book His to Own. The part that I hated was where she lived right next door. Like I was like,
of all the things to hate in that book,
there were things that I legit could be like,
it's where you draw the line.
But really, it's when you broke the fourth wall, where I said, "Well, now this is weird. How does this work?"
It was so out of nowhere. Like you expected the epilogue to be about them, and it's her looking at them from her window.
Like a creep.
like a fucking creeper. I might actually go back. I think after this, I'm gonna read a Theodora. So usually, I like to say it when we talk about people. I totally recommend this person. I would say do it if you want, but you can't say you work for it. But that brings us to, so I introduced Trust Tiffany um to Theodora, and she introduced me to Chantel Davis.
Ooh, buddy. I
So
haven't been able to finish any of Chantel's book. Like I'll start it, get to a point and be like, I can't do this.
Sounds about right.
Because like I'm almost 100% positive that this is a teenager writing these books. Like she's writing the books and publishing them because she's like a teenager. She's just like having fun on the internet or whatever. The problem is they are very problematic.
and there are a lot of typos. So Tracy, how did you find her?
I was in a reading slump. No, I wasn't even in a reading slump. I'm not gonna even blame it on the slump. I was just looking through KU and it's like, I think it was like a Sunday morning. I want to read like a quick little easy book. And that one came up and I said, well, this sounds different. Let's give it a try. And it was pretty much over from there. It took me like maybe an hour and a half to read that book. And I want to say I immediately DM'd you. So I was like, who else? What other person do I know on this earth
Like the
that
fact that you immediately thought of her.
and I thought, oh, a person that reads Theodore Taylor.
And honestly, yes. Like if you have read Theodora Taylor and you are looking for a quick one, here's the thing about her though, to be warned about, because she's not as good of a writer, and I think that's because she hasn't been at it as long as Theodora.
Again, teenager. I'm almost positive.
And I don't blame you for teenage thing, because also the typos that she has don't make sense. And when I say they don't make sense, I'm saying if she had edited this or went over it more than once, some of them are way too obvious for her not to have caught. Like the quotation marks thing. The quotation marks thing drives me bananas because they're oddly placed. And sometimes I'd have to go back and read a second time, like, oh, okay, no one's saying, and she went into the kitchen. Because that'd be a weird thing to say. And some of the plots, she also has a lot of books on KU. Like for someone so young. No, she has like 30.
Had you ever seen her before on KU? Before I did?
So here's the thing, because of Theodora Taylor, my KU recommendations are fucked.
Same. That's how she ended. I know that's how she ended up on mine.
So I'm pretty sure I've seen her name before, right? But like it never occurred to me but that's also because I get really wary, especially of like new dark romances on like KU, because I'm like, I don't know if this is something I can handle. So I've seen her name, but I never looked. And which is why I was so willing to read it, because I was like, oh, it's a mess. I love reading a mess. And then I started reading one and I was like, oh no, this is a different mess.
Well, and that's really, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, you go ahead.
No, I said like some of the plots are not okay, but they're readable. Some of them I was just like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this with you.
Like they got the books got progressively worse. Like the first one I sent you, the maid, that was it. It hit the spot. And then the next one was like, huh. And then the one after that was like,
What were those next two books? You have to say what those next two books
are. Okay. So the next one was it was the most batshit one out of all of them. Like, I'm sorry, can I cuss?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. So it was the stepbrother. And
that's the one that's the first one I could not finish. My guy kidnaps his stepsister to the basement of the house they live in. How? You didn't even go nowhere.
It was a code, a security code. Like it just didn't make any sense. And I
None.
can't even remember how she ended up getting out of the basement. Now,
Girl, I don't know. I got to the part where he invited the friend that she used to date over or something like that, just to prove that he had kidnapped her. So, like, you're showing strangers your crimes.
it gets so much worse after that.
Oh, nope. I cannot do it.
It gets so much. Let me just say that they end up getting married.
What?
And then some years down the line, there's an incident that happens, and his way of apologizing to her to get her back is to have a threesome with that friend. Um,
Shut up.
as a, I guess that was like their marriage counseling.
Uh, uh,
So
uh,
Oh my God, I'm gonna read this book.
I can.
Oh my God, I'm gonna read this
Melissa,
book.
don't do it. Don't. I'm telling you now, don't do it. You are
Oh,
going to regret it.
I'm so sad I'm about to read this book.
a
I
dark
know me.
romance, but make it love and hip hop. No, I take that back. She might be a teenager because you know what this honestly read like. What was the movie with Bradley Cooper? A Star Is Born. Like I can't explain how it is, but I'm sitting here thinking I'm almost certain it's like some very dark, even darker, weirder form of A Star Is Born.
Well, she had one book that Dee was convinced she watched Found
Oh yeah,
and wrote it. But then we found out that this book predated Found.
yeah.
Which one was that? Was that Adam and Eve?
I think so. Yeah, because she was kidnapped by her teacher.
Are you serious?
Girl, yes. Her professor kidnaps her because he knows that they're meant to be together or whatever. Which I mean, that's found.
That is absolutely found.
So this actually leads right into perfectly. We've talked about Found on the main podcast.
Yeah, because it's delightful trash.
It is delightful trash. And honestly, I would say if you agree with us about Found being delightful trash, then you would probably like either of these authors. I would say Theodore Moore, just because, again, Chantel is, she's writing this during recess and she doesn't have
Not
time.
during recess.
So she don't got time to really perfect the craft before the bell rings. So, all you gotta do is press send and it's right there. Like,
I'm making me feel so much worse reading this.
so here's the thing though, and I think that's why I wanted to do this. I want to take away the shame.
Well,
And
I feel like for me, Chantel being a teenager makes it less weird to me because I think all teenagers, especially teenagers who are like into romance, go through like their cringe phases. And I think that's what's happening. But, she's doing it somewhat in public.
yeah. And you know what, Chantel, if you are not a teenager and you are listening to this, our bad. But come on. But our bad.
Maybe she's like an AO3 kind of person that came up on like Tumblr, AO3.
I do.
And
I don't believe that because the Tumblr AO3 people at least edit for punctuation.
fair enough.
But I will say points for batshit storyline. Because there in no way, in absolutely no way, would I ever guess that there is a book where the stepbrother kidnaps her, puts her in the basement, and then to repair their marriage has a threesome with the guy that she used to date. And I'm guessing the threesome happens in the basement.
I think they went to a hotel room.
Oh, that's
It
nice.
would have been, it's kind of disappointing now that they didn't go back to the basement. Now I'm wondering why didn't she make it a full circle moment?
She says she got to keep the girls guessing. But
I mean,
those are. Hmm?
I don't disagree with you. That would have been a full, like, it'd been weird as hell, but it would have been a full circle moment.
But if you're writing during recess, like, I mean, you don't have that much time, I guess, to really nail down your plot. So,
Clearly just cranked these out under pressure. And I guess, you know what? I know she's getting her coin because I've read reviews that are like, I read all these, like, and I've seen her sex talking. I've read all these books, and girl, da, 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 and I'm like, you know what? Get your money. Get your money. I see you out here shining. Uh, and these are indicative of all black white romance novels. There are some that make sense, but the ones that are fun to read are the ones that don't make sense. And if anything, book talk has influenced or inspired me. It's like if these girls can get on the internet with their full face and say this is the shit that they're reading, I don't feel as bad. Like, so I'm like, you know what? Yeah, somebody's reading it, clearly.
Yeah, like they all of these things have fan bases, and that's perfectly fine. Like everybody has the thing that they specifically are kind of like reading the books for. Um I and again, I'm never gonna knock anybody for like liking what they like. But I will knock the author for not putting punctuations in your book. Like you have to. You have
Yeah.
to use punctuation.
To some extent, like, and I usually don't mind a little typo. You know what I'm saying?
Every so often, yeah, that's fine.
But girl, when it's every other page, all you got to do is just read it one more time. You don't even have to hire anybody if that's not what you want to do.
Nope. She said nah.
All
and
right,
I
so
do
hmm,
I do wonder what some of these books would be if they had like a good editor. Someone that could say, okay, like a get in football, I don't know if y'all watch sports, but a lot of time coaches they have what's called a get back coach. And because if they go on the field or if they get too emotional or if they are trying to fight the ref, they can get kicked out of the game, they can get fined, blah, 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 blah. So this coach literally just follows them around up and down the sidelines. And if they start to get out of line, that coach snatches them back. Like you'll literally see them get pulled back.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that maybe for Theodore Taylor in particular, she needs a get back coach. Like, hey, tattooing someone without consent, maybe that's too far. Locking your stepsister up in the basement, let's really sit down and think about that and see if there's maybe some other ways for him to show his love. So
Also, the guy in the stepbrother story is an asshole. There's nothing redeeming about him. So like that also makes like the sort of romance or erotic story thing kind of like because like again, I don't mind having like an asshole male protagonist or an asshole male love interest, but like he has to have some redeeming quality. This guy just sucks.
yeah, I read the sample. Because this all starts because she won't sing on his song. She won't do a feature, and she won't do it. But then she won't do it for free. And how dare she have a fee? He putting her on, and then it just goes down from there.
there's no character development. Like that's not, I don't know if that's something that even crossed my mind when I read the book. Like did I but there's no character development there. So she just writes an asshole and it stays an asshole the entire book.
That's how I felt about the one the one before the maid. was DeMarco or Del Marco, and I got 5 pages, maybe 1 or 2% in, and he was like, "Well, you owe me money, right? So fuck me." And I was like, you know what? I need a little bit more romance than this. Like
But
I
she said,
just
like
and
she says, these aren't love stories.
these are this is a fucking story.
She
She's
does give
huh?
she does give a pretty straightforward disclaimer. Like, let me read the one from the maid.
The maid was teetering on a line, okay? So because the maid, you're about to read the straightforward thing?
You can go ahead while I find.
Okay. So in the maid, let's do the premise of the maid because it's fucking hilarious. There's this guy that old girl whose name I can't remember right now works for. She's the maid, and he wants to fuck her. So he says, "I would like to fuck you and pay you for your services." And that's how their romance starts. He's married to an older woman who is has a drinking problem.
Oh
And
no.
huh?
I said, oh no. I was genuinely concerned forgetting that this is one of these wild ass books. My bad.
Wild. So she has a drinking problem. Her dad runs the company. He started in the company in the mailroom, and but he gets up once he marries old girl, but old girl is like abusive, like she's emotionally, physically abusive. Um, and so they have a very toxic marriage. And so when he sees this maid, he's like, I gotta fucking have her. And he saw her somewhere else and made sure that she was hired at his place. And what she does in this book that drove me a little up a wall is major plot points. She wouldn't describe them. She would have they'd be done in a sentence. Like, oh yeah, and this happened because that person knew that person. Anyway, like girl, you ever sort of show, don't tell. But I can't critique too hard because when I read the whole book, I was glued. Yes.
And the
Yeah.
plot twist at the end, like she gave us a genuine plot twist. I didn't see that coming.
No. But I would have liked to have some clue. Like
I would have liked something to lead up to this, not just, oh, by the way, I haven't read that one. I want to say that I will try that one, but like it's like they're so hard.
yes.
Like ugh, they're so hard to read for me. So like it's gonna take me a while to get through it, but I'm gonna try.
There's another one where, and I forget the name, but she's like, maybe you read this one. She is, she works at a strip club, but she's not a dancer. I think she's a bartender or a bottle girl. And she's hired, um, she's been followed and watched by a crime family guy, because she has information that he needs. And so he has to watch her or whatever. And then he pays for her sexual attention. I am noticing a theme. That's fine.
Everybody has their thing.
Everybody has their thing, and so he pays for her, and then he want romance, and she's like, "What?" Which is also a thing. Like they'll pay for it. They'll be like, "Okay, well, you're my girlfriend," and they're like, hmm, how do we put this? So, but they end up being together, and it's a whole thing. And there's a sequel coming out from that series that I'm probably gonna read. I'm just not gonna lie to myself or you guys. Did you find the warning yet?
Yes, I found it. So it's actually in the stepbrother. It's the preface and it's the preface. And it's, what did she say? I'm back. I wrote this for Bella. My readers who don't have Bella wanted to read it too. It's supposed to be a fun, toxic story. Toxic is what it's supposed to be. Don't be yelling at me in reviews about these fake people acting up. LOL. So in the preface for the stepbrother, she did warn us. Like she told us up front, this is about to be a mess. And scroll right past it and kept reading.
And I can appreciate that. I will say that people can review however they want to review. But I would not waste my time breaking down these books if I were people.
Oh no,
Absolutely not.
absolutely not. You talk about the book, you talk about them like it's gossip, kind of. It's like, girl, did you read what happened in this book? Isn't that weird? Again, kidnapped his stepsister to the basement, like 20 feet away.
And the parents were upstairs, so it wasn't like they were in the house by themselves. Like she put the parents upstairs while she's locked in the basement.
Mm-hmm. And the reason the parents don't think anything's up is because he told his dad that she was staying over one of her friend's houses, who agreed, and that friend agreed to help him with that lie because she also wants to fuck him.
Yeah.
Like,
and they're all like 19 or something, by the way. Like
I think they're like late teens, or which again, I think that's part of the reason why that also is what made me think that she's a teenager, is because I was like, this specific age feels like it was chosen for a reason, and that reason is because that's where adulthood is. So that's where you can do these weird, crazy things. And I'm going to tell you right now, no, you can't. As an adult, those things are not allowed. You cannot kidnap people. That's against the law.
She is going to be very disappointed when she gets older. Like, oh no. Okay, so there is another. So this is a whole thing on KU. Like, if you are literally interested in batshit black white, and I say that because a lot of them are black white, interracial romances. Then this KU definitely is for you. First of all, they have a whole thing. There's this other one that I've not read, and I want to see if you all have read her, called Jamila Jasper.
Absolutely not. You told me about her, and I looked at the synopsis and was like, I can't do this.
I read one, just one, and that was like I feel like she's my line in the sand. Like Theodora, okay. Chantel, okay. I read Eve Vaughn. Like I feel like Eve Vaughn was like the OG that started me on this path, but Jamila Jasper, she is. I'll let you explain her. Like maybe you can put her in the context for me.
So I've also read one Jamila Jasper book, and the guy had an 11-inch dick. And that's when I was like,
absolutely not.
I said, well, man, ow. And no. But
Did you say ow?
I did. Just thinking about that closed me down. But I say that to say that's not even the worst of her crimes. She does the white and black. I don't know that she would ever pick another combo. Like Theodora at least explore. She said, nah, interracial just mean vanilla and chocolate. And they're racist. The books are racist. I'm working on a theory that Jamila Jasper is a white man or a white woman.
I do too. I 100% agree. I think that was one reason why I refused to move forward with her.
I think one of the books, and I think it's the one that I showed you, Dee, was like Redneck Retribution. And it is literally a black woman standing in front of a bunch of it's like a Confederate flag and a bunch of angry looking white dudes. And I said,
absolutely not. I don't remember seeing that, but no. Like, okay, now Chantel seems better.
And so I'm just saying, it's all in perspective. There is a spectrum. Jamila Jasper will probably be your line in the sand.
There's absolutely a spectrum. And that was one reason why I'm still to this day like hesitant. When I see BWWM on KU, mostly it's an automatic strike for me. Like I feel a lot of those books just don't, I mean, the first few pages they just go completely off the rail. And a lot of times I think they're written by white people. I feel like they're ops.
Mm-hmm. Now,
I
I do
believe
have a
that.
suggestion for you, Trace Tiffany, that I think you'll like. Oh, I was just going to say, I'll tell you a secret, but that's the whole fucking point of this episode. I'm not even going to tell you a secret. One of the first ones that I did read, and it was a BWWM presents, but it was The Black Pearl by Tiffany Patterson.
I've seen her, but I've not read her.
So, yeah, she's written a lot, and it's not, she doesn't just do IR. Um, I would put her. I can't even star her. I can't even tell you the rating. She does. She's not as. She's in between Theodora and Chantel. Her plot lines are not as outrageous, but her men are just as toxic and possessive and alpha. And what's interesting about the Black Pearl, it was one of the first ones I read of hers. Um, that I really liked because there was a plus size burlesque dancer as the lead.
Oh, that sounds cute.
That
I'm
part.
looking it up right now.
Mm-hmm.
That part was cute. And then
There are parts that are not cute, but it also depends on your kink. So, but I think you'll like her. I can't say for all of her books, but I would definitely recommend her if you're looking for a little bit shit. She doesn't go all the way off. Like Theodore will go to some places you're just like, what? Because even in like the two, I'm gonna go back a little bit. Because even in the Two Dick Dragon, it also is in a world where dragons and werewolves are enemies.
why? Why dragons and werewolves?
Are enemies. There's a whole thing.
How are they even in the same world together?
And so I don't want to spoil.
Girl, I am not reading this.
I feel like if somebody can correct me, I promise you I'm not gonna be offended. I feel like they end up finding out that the dragon was the father of the werewolves or something too. Cause like the werewolves were
Oh.
experiments that the dragons who were like superior beings sort of experimented and they sort of created them or whatever.
Oh, that kind of makes sense, I think.
A
And
little bit.
another, you know, those blurbs that they do on the top of books. That could be a Theodore blurb. Like that kind of makes sense.
If you squint and turn your head to the side a little bit, yeah, I could see that.
And it gets so complicated because it's a two-parter. Like there's one where she somehow has time traveled or he has time traveled. I can't remember. But they end up together. And then there's another one where she was going to save her sister, but she found the captive of her sister, and he was a villain. He was a villain dragon, but he gets his own story, and they have to go through a lot to be together, but they do end up together.
What's making this hard for me is I'm picturing them as like actual Game of Thrones dragons. So as you're telling us the synopsis,
Daenerys Targaryen over here with
So
some
the
right,
fucking
it
dragons
looks
have
dragons.
like
the ability to shift into human.
okay, thank you.
That's I feel like that's a normal thing in dragon lore. I don't know why I'm trying to make this make sense. Never mind, I take it back. I'm good.
I won't take it away that Theodora can definitely spin a tale where you're like, even if you're not super interested, you just got to know where this is going. You're like, I haven't bought anything of what you're saying. My belief has not been suspended, but I got to know where you thought we were going to go with this.
I figured out that's what helps makes me read romance though. Like with romance, you know they're going to end up together, right? Like that's the basic expectation of a romance book. So it's all about how. And sometimes people's how is just completely off the rails, bananas, but eventually they get there. So,
And I can appreciate that. Like, I think that that's also what I love. I love the different things that you can do in romance. I feel like the romance genre over the years has sort of, I don't want to say exploded, but I feel like a lot more is being done now than before. Not that what was done before was, awful. There are some romance novelists that I've been reading since high school, and I am never letting them go. Beverly Jenkins knows exactly who she is. Oh, I've been reading her for 20 some years. God, over 20 years. Wait, how old were you guys when you read your first romance novel?
I'm like 13.
I was in middle school for sure.
Yeah.
I think also middle school. My mom used to have, and this is the dumbest thing. So she used to love Harlequin romance novels. And she would, I don't know if she thought she was hiding them when she did this, but she would have in one of her shoe closets, because my mother also really loves shoes. So in the shoe closet that was in the hallway, she would keep a clear bag full of Harlequin romance novels on the floor underneath the clothes. Because it was a shoe closet, but there was also some clothes in there too, because my mother also really loves clothes. Um, so I would dig into the bag every now and again and sneak one out. So yeah, I would definitely say middle school.
I I forget where I was with my mom, but basically I think it was a school. She was like doing decorations for a school or something like that. And they had couldn't have been a school. I don't believe it was school, but whatever. They had this big box of books that they were getting rid of, right? And so like I was looking through it just because I love to read. And I was looking through it and I found this book that was like a fantasy book. And like I was getting into fantasy stories at that time. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna read it. It's fine. It's a choose your own adventure book. So now I can feel like I'm in the book. And then I read it and found out it was a romance novel. And then I was like, I need more of these. And so then I learned that the library, actually, our local library sold a brown bag of library books for $1, and it was 10 books in the bag for $1, and I just went crazy.
I wonder if they still do those.
Probably, like, usually when like libraries are cycling out of books, they will like do sell them for like kind of cheap,
Mm-hmm.
especially romance novels.
So my aunt and my grandma read romance. So we used to walk to the library um to check out books. That's like my first memory from childhood. But the first romance I read, like I snuck my aunt, she had a shelf with books, and so I randomly picked up Once a Princess by Joanna Lindsay. And that was just pretty much it from there.
Oh wait, and so Joan and Lindsay, that's historical romance, right?
Yes. Yes.
Those were back in the clinch cover days, which I mean we still do from time to time, but the classic clinch covers were something. I love a good vintage romance novel cover.
Yeah. And I think that's why so dark romance really is just a continuation of historical romance. Like as times changed, as they should have, and those certain things couldn't be put into mainstream traditional books anymore, they shifted over to KU and self pub and into dark. now what we call dark romance. So I think those kind of clinch cover, old school type romance books are still being written. We've just kind of changed the name of them.
Yeah, because I remember like a lot of like when I was like a teenager, a lot of the romance books that you would find were like some woman gets kidnapped and falls in love with her captor or something to that extent. Uh, and not all of them were good. Some of those were also very problematic.
Extremely problematic. Like I don't necessarily want to revisit a lot of them. Like I'd rather just have whatever memory of them I have because when you go back and you try to read them, it's like, oh,
The blatant racism is always gets me. There's always one with like an Arabic prince, and oh gosh, and I'm just like, what? Why this? Why here?
one thing I was grateful that I didn't ever read were those Cassie Edwards books, her Native American um I think that was all she wrote.
You
But
remember those?
yeah. And so I couldn't, and now I know I didn't have the words. So I'm not going to pretend like I had the words or the understanding of it, but those books just never did it for me. I think I mostly read like Regency, kind of Victoria, like that side of the pond, because whatever you tried to read based in the States was just going to be an automatic, this isn't going to work.
Y'all about to have me looking up Kathy Edwards now.
You've been warned.
It's
I'm not going to read those books, but
I'm
I will.
so I think one of the books, I didn't read it, but a friend of mine read it, and when I asked her about it, she was like, ugh, no. But I think one of her books has one where like this I think this Native American guy and this white woman were fucking. And like it went on into detail about him visualizing their children for some reason or other. And like this is like in the beginning of the book.
Oh no.
It was really weird. Like my friend like read me a passage and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not. I'm good. I'll find something else.
And it's Kathy Edwards.
Right. So it's Cassie.
Oh, Cassie. Okay. I'm not seeing a Kathy. Cassie. I need to know.
Yeah, it's yeah, all of the Savage whatever books, which again, right off the bat, mad
Oh my
racist.
god. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what wait. What?
Immediately racist.
Yeah. It was just even young Tiffany knew something is just not quite right about this.
It's like I'm offended, but like it's not me. Like I'm offended for these people because what the fuck?
Exactly.
This Savage series is like
Girl, and it's from like
18 books.
1980 to 2002.
Yes. 25?
She
Bitch,
was
there was one
prolific.
in 2006.
She was prolific. Like she wrote whatever for decades.
Mm-hmm.
32 in 2000. I think hopefully that's the last one. So 2008 is the latest one I can find. Book 32. I guess she only wrote this series. Nope. I see some other stuff. So I think White Fire is going to be along the same lines.
Hold on. Apparently she wrote over 100 historical romance novels.
And
Are you
she's
looking at her Wikipedia?
Yeah.
Do you see plagiarism allegations?
uh
So maybe
Oh my
apparently from
gosh.
Nora Roberts, she
You
plagiarized.
not the
you
girl.
Apparently,
from Nora Roberts.
Nora don't play that shit. She air people out.
That's exactly what it says. Nora Roberts, herself a victim of plagiarism, joined the outcry. 2 days later, Signet announced that they would be reviewing all of Edwards' books that they published to determine whether plagiarism had occurred. And in April 2008, Signet stopped publishing Edwards' book due to irreconcilable editorial differences.
Yeah, you plagiarizing people's books.
In an interview, she said she didn't know she was supposed to credit sources. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that hurts you guys' ears. I apologize for the scream that I scrumped. But
Wh-
if if that's your defense, like I didn't know, y'all needed to know where
See,
I got that from. Y'all didn't tell me. Why did y'all tell me y'all needed to know? I would have told you kind of maybe. Oh my God.
I just wow.
so she was just a whole mess, but I mean, she thrived for decades. So by the time this happened, she was pretty much at the end of her career anyway.
Mm-hmm.
She's won a Romantic Times Lifetime Achievement Award.
For writing 100 damn books, technically.
Has a reputation for meticulously researching the proper anthropological backgrounds of each tribe she writes about. I find that to be unrealistic. Like,
But again, but you named your book. Every book in the series starts with the word savage, which is extremely offensive for Native American people.
and you
Like,
gotta know. I think in the 2000s we knew. I can't speak for us in the 90s. I didn't know a lot back then. I was a kid, but I feel like I was a kid in the 2000s too. For a portion of the 2000s. Anyway, um, the early aughts, if you will. I feel like we knew by then that we shouldn't be doing that.
oh God, there's so many of them.
I, I'm not going to read her.
No, never.
Oh, absolutely not.
I would
No,
Oh,
rather read Theodora Taylor.
because
At
I'm
least,
looking at like Savage Dawn was in September 2009.
mhm.
she's got 40 books
Even was it
in that
those
series.
acknowledged? There's a wild series.
Again, oh,
Wild.
kind of offensive. Like, what are you doing?
What are you doing,
You
girl?
are a white woman.
And you know what? I fucked up and looked this up on Kindle, and so now my recommendations are just about to be fucked beyond.
Oh no!
And
Oh
Sorry.
no!
Sorry.
it's a whole genre. It's a whole genre of
I
just this
don't even think
whole
is
thing.
it is anyone even still writing books? Period. In that, like, I couldn't imagine Kindle actually having anything to pull up here. Like, I'm going to be You have to let us know what your
I'll let you
recommendations look
know
like.
because I think it wasn't that long ago that this came up again, and I can't remember the name of the person or the title of the book, but it was some Christian historical romance.
That plagiarized
Um,
Nora Roberts.
no, that was racist against Native Americans.
Well,
Huh?
I'm not I'm not shocked.
But this was like a few years ago because it was controversial. I think what happened was, and it was right around the time people were finally looking at the RWA, like, what are y'all doing? Um, because she was nominated, and it was like a redemption story or some shit. So maybe it wasn't natives. It was definitely like racist.
No, I think that's the one where I think it was Jewish people. Like I
Oh,
think it was about this, I don't know if it was the male lead or the female lead, but they fall in love, blah blah blah, and she realizes that she got to accept Christ in her life or something like that. If this is the correct one.
girl, it's not what I'm thinking of, but I need that title.
I don't remember what the title was, but I remember hearing about it and being like, y'all, why?
You got to accept Jesus in your heart before you get this dick.
Wait, wait. I can't. Oh,
Which in all honesty, it's super offensive because like that was a big thing. That was a big like trope in some Christian literature was helping Jewish people find the light or whatever and bringing them to Jesus.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, pretty bad. Pretty freaking bad. It's I
Offensive.
Well, and I remember there was one, I think there are like maybe more than one where it was like like a concentration camp.
oh
Um
yes.
and yeah, and the guards
Mm-hmm.
romance.
Okay.
So that one was a big deal. But I think it happened more than once. Like there were one or two, maybe three of those books
Mm-hmm.
that came out.
Well, there was even that movie with what's their name?
Samber, I can never pronounce her name. I'm
Mandela.
not gonna try. Yes.
Amanda.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
were in that
did
one.
that get made?
It was already made when the trailers came out. I don't think it actually came, or it might have come out, but it was real quick because they were like,
Kind of like
oh,
Hoopla. Yeah, it's available to watch.
it, it's available.
I don't know that I will be watching that. I wish that young woman the best in life, but sometimes you gotta say no.
Well, and I think that's what it was. Like Amanda was pretty young at the time, so I don't think they realized what that role was.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Who, buddy? Like
Yeah.
I remember seeing the trailer and being like, I know what this is. I'm not here for this.
Everything doesn't need to be done. All right. So before we wrap, I did have my question in reverse because I realized that I will read a lot of the swirl, but I have yet to read White Woman, Black Man. I'm just not that interested.
Um, uh, what's her name? How did I forget her name already? The Loyal League series, the last one.
I didn't finish it yet.
Hmm. So Loyal League
Mr.
series,
Cole, is that what you're thinking of?
yeah, Alyssa Cole. So one of the things I like about the Loyal League series, because when I first like saw the synopses of the books of the first one, I was like, I don't like this. But like she actually does a good job because it's a situation where like a free black woman goes to the South as a spy, and she's got an eidetic memory, so she's passing on information to the North,
Mm-hmm.
um, about what the South is doing because like she is one of the slaves of I think a general or something, right?
Yeah.
Um and what ends up happening is the lead character is this I want to say that they're Irish.
Yeah, that one I loved.
It was the Irish guy who was also a spy for the North and actually like they like he was sent down to find her and they were supposed to work together to like send information up or whatever but like he had to pretend to be a Confederate. Uh and she says in the book, this I don't feel comfortable being attracted to somebody in that particular uniform. That's ugh.
Mm.
I have to read this.
They're good. Alyssa
Okay.
Cole writes a good ass book, and she's moved on to thrillers now, but like she writes a real good book.
Yeah, I would definitely. Alyssa Cole is one of those I tend to auto buy. And so
Hmm.
like I auto bought this series and only read the first one. Loved it, but I do a thing where I delay gratification. I'm like, nope, I gotta save it. You never know when you'll need it. And then
This
years will pass.
the second and third ones are also good. It's basically it's about so they're siblings. It's like the guy in the first one and the guy in the second one are siblings. The second one, he was also in the war, but he was just a soldier and he got taken as a prisoner of war and was in a prison camp. And she basically helps, she's part of like an the underground, not the Underground Railroad, but like sort of kind of because like basically they're trying to help get the prisoners of war out and get them away because they're being tortured in like the prison camp. And I think the third one is about her brother or the first girl's brother. I don't remember. Um And I forget what happens, but him and that white girl solve I don't forget what they did, but they fall in love.
Definitely recommend. I'm gonna go back to that series, honestly. Maybe that's what I'll do. I've been in a sort of slump, not a slump, but I've been in a funk, and usually like spicy romance novels help me. And Alyssa Cole has spice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as much spice.
Yeah, there are levels.
Yeah, but
She's not Katrina Jackson, Rebecca Weatherspoon, but she's
have you
not.
read this yet, Trust Tiffany?
I've started, I think what was it, the professor? Not the professor, the
Office Hours.
office hours. Yes. I started it, but I didn't finish. So it's on my list to go back to.
If you are into high heat,
Katrina Jackson is for high heat.
Okay,
very.
so I definitely got to pick that back up.
We probably this is and most of our episodes really are stand. So we're gonna
Yeah,
if
we
you get
just did
started on her, we won't stop.
we did
Uh,
her Mafia series for the Patreon Smut Book Clubs. By the
I
way, if you're
did.
not if you're
oh,
not
you would love her
uh if you're not subscribed to the Patreon, please do because those episodes are fun as hell. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, I would if I were you, I'd start with her with the Mafia series.
I did read one. It was like a novel. It was a novella.
The Dawn.
Yes.
Or the first, not the Dawn, the first one. What was the first one called?
Beautiful and Dirty.
Beautiful and Dirty, yeah.
I think it was the one where he is like taking over the family, I think.
Oh, did you read Out of Order?
I might have read them out of order. I know it was a novella though.
So it starts with I want to say it starts with Beautiful and Dirty.
Yep.
Shay, she's in Italy for like the first time with her good for nothing boyfriend, and then she meets Salvatore.
Okay. Beautiful and dirty. That was it.
So that's yeah, just the taste. All right, so we're gonna wrap here. I want to thank everybody for listening. Trace Tiffany, and thank you for coming on. This is the part where we let the people know where we can be found. And so, as the guest, and also for your first podcast, so let's do a pow, 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 pow.
Thank you so much for having me on. This was fun. Hopefully I didn't throw things off too much. But I'll be on Instagram, TikTok, and on Twitter, all at Trace Tres Tiffany. Is my username on all three. So that's where you can find me.
Yeah, let's follow you on TikTok. Let me see. Okay. D, where can the people find you?
If you're looking for me on social media, you can find wherever I'm at on social media on my card. It's nanicoolj.card, CARRD.co. Apparently, I'm doing TikToks now, so that's where I'm active the most right now, but I might switch back and forth between that and Blue Sky. So if you're on either of those, follow me.
All right, and I am on the app formerly known as Twitter under Black Girl Geeky. I do my book stuff on Threads and Instagram under Mel's Crowded Book Show. So follow me there for reviews, book thoughts, random stuff, the works. Okay, but until then, thank you for joining us. Looking forward to the next episode. Bye.
Bye. Hey everyone, it's me, Dee. And I wanted to take a second to shout out our lovely Patreon subscribers. Thank you, Jacqueline Richards, Ama Aningo, Elle, Jules, and Slagzinger Kincaid for your support. We very much appreciate your subscriptions because that has gone towards us being able to start working on some new stuff for you guys to listen to, and also put out a couple of the things that you may have listened to already. We very much appreciate your support, and we hope to have even more stuff coming out for you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.